just about to call the meeting to order, but before we do, I invite you to stand and join me in the pledge. And then Mark Fugerus will bring the invocation.
Please bow with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this city that you've given us. And Lord, we just ask that you help this committee to be able to take care of the city, the resources that you've given us, and just be able to honor you in all of our decisions. Take care of our public here and let us hear their words and be able to take it into mind in all of our decisions. And just be with us in all that we do, and pray in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Mark. And good, Aaron was able to get here in time. And we, before I ask our city clerk to call the roll, Amelia, I'll just go ahead and check with you. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I hear you
great.
well.
Great, thank you. And I'll call the meeting to order. And now we will ask Sabre Jeffis, our city clerk and treasurer, to call the roll.
Mayor Sprouse?
Here.
Brian Powell?
Here.
Amelia Taldo?
Here.
Jeff Watson? Mike Overton? Mike Lawson? Aaron Huntley?
Here.
Randall Harriman?
Here.
Mark Fugerus?
Here.
And Ernest Kate?
Here. All right, thank you. And I see two of you that are really struggling with the sun right now. You're welcome to move around if you need to. You never know. It depends on the time of day and time of year where you're going to get hit with the sun, but it'll change in a few minutes. So, all right, we do have a quorum, and we're at item 4 on our agenda. This is the time that the council sets aside for each regular meeting to hear comments from their residents. If there are any citizens that would like to address the council concerning an item that is not on tonight's agenda, we invite you to come to the microphone at the podium. Please clearly state your name and address. Keep your comments brief and understand that the council won't take action tonight on whatever you bring forward.
Tim Shepard. I'm a resident in Washington County at 16192 Sycamore Lane, Fayetteville, so I'm not a direct resident.
Okay.
I'm here tonight to introduce myself to the council and let you know that I'm running for Washington County Judge against incumbent Patrick Deakins on the Republican ticket. I just want to take a little bit of time to tell you what I've done and where I'm from. I grew up in Washington County. I'm a 4th-generation Washington County resident. I've been in law enforcement for 2 decades at the Fayetteville Police Department, where I've led teams under extreme accountability and pressure. I look forward to meeting everybody and learning more about the situation in Springdale. This was our first city that we're stopping at to introduce ourselves to, because I believe this is one of the more important areas for industry, and I want to get to know more about it. And I just invite any questions and furthering a relationship. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you for being here, Tim. Thank you. All right, we're at item 5. Is there anyone else? Well, come right on up.
She's back. The very night that I spoke to you 2 weeks ago, I came up with a solution about the curb barriers, and I just want to offer that, and that'll be the end of it from me, okay?
Okay, thank you, Melinda.
And I'm going to talk fast because I took too much time last time. Did you know there are 5 crosswalks in that 2-block portion of east-west Maple Avenue where it intersects Maple Drive, running north and south? I'm not counting the crosswalk at the stoplight at 71 Thompson going Jimmy's Pizza to Subway. 5. I read in the paper a long time ago when this first came up that the hospital staff preferred to leave the curb barriers. They felt safer. I am not dismissive of the hospital. In 1952, during Springdale's polio epidemic, Springdale called the University of Arkansas College of Medicine, we now know as UAMS, in Little Rock, and asked for them to send They're newly minted doctors, that all of the doctors here were down with polio from their patients. My daddy was Dr. Wheat, and he and a classmate or two came to Springdale. The brand-new Springdale Memorial Hospital faced Quant Street. He was asked to set up the OR. They thought he'd be up on all the latest. He was 26 years old. I delivered 2 of our children there. Jim Counts did my husband's 6 heart bypasses there, and that was 11 years ago today. We have always received excellent care there, and I promote Springdale Hospital every chance I get. But I do continue to believe the curbs are a hazard to the pedestrians and the vehicles. The broken curb that was shoved way back over into the bike lane was finally fixed 9 to 10 days after I called it in. What they did was abut the broken piece that had been cleaned up to the west end of they put one, just kind of laid one next to the broken end. Not 48 hours later, someone had veered into it, and it's in the south side bike lane a bit. Again, in front of the Jones Clinic. This is by Maple. Now for my proposal. Springdale's traffic on Maple is really increasing with all the new stuff east on Holcomb and with Kids Spot there, and just in general. Its light at 71 is the only protected way to get out onto 71 South without, is the only protected way to get out onto 71 South without going all the way south to Sunset's light or blocks north to the Emma Avenue light. 71 going east for 2 blocks, here's my proposal, lower the speed limit to 15 miles per hour from 71 to Maple. Have a lighted speed limit sign. In addition to the 5 crosswalks, I would add an additional 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 big square. Am I okay? There, that's the only north-south street to get you close to Sunset out south and north to Emma. And there's a lot of foot traffic there now. Pulling out of the hospital's north parking lot, that's this side of the air evac pad. One that's not familiar is not expecting a curb end there. And there are other places where you pull out as well onto Maple, and you're suddenly confronted with this curb. The bike lane makes a tight turn at 71 and Maple, and the ambulance's emergency entrance is on down a couple of blocks. The jostling in the back of that ambulance for someone who's sick or bleeding or broken, strapped to that cot, and the EMT in the back also, stanching blood, bracing an IV, and holding a sick bag. Can you tell I'm a doctor's daughter? The veering necessary to make the tight turn from 71, swerve to miss the middle of the street, stop for crossers in crosswalk, and then veer around the next curbs. It's just a sharp right into the ambulance entrance, and it's hairy. The Springdale drivers are aware of what's coming, but I'm noticing more and more new out-of-the-area ambulances maneuvering to stay the course. The low speed limit would not hurt the ambulances and fire trucks once they had pulled in and were coming back toward Station 1 on Holcomb, because there's no hurry. The run is over. You could put a speed limit sign there, resume 25 miles an hour to Holcomb and beyond. When it's snowy and icy, without the curbs, it wouldn't be necessary to send some poor public works guy out to mark the buried curbs with orange cones like happened recently. The speed limit signs are something that's expected. They're more noticeable. They're at your eye level. Those curbs are unexpected, and in a busy 2 blocks require drivers to shift their attention from the traffic to the roadway, back and back. And that's my proposal.
All right. Thank you, Melinda. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council? Okay, thank you. We'll move on then to item 5 and the approval of minutes. Council, if you've had an opportunity to look those over, if there are no changes or additions, I'd entertain a motion to approve them as presented.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. All right, thank you, and I'm going to turn items 6 and 7 over to our city attorney. Ernest?
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 6 is a public hearing and a proposed amendment to Section 110-137 of the Springdale Code of Ordinances. That's item number 13A on the agenda. The ordinance requires, before that ordinance can be amended or heard, that a public hearing be held, and a notice of the public hearing was posted on the city's website and social media platforms. Is there anyone here that wishes to comment on that proposed ordinance? If not, I will close that public hearing. And then item number 7 is a public hearing on an ordinance vacating a utility easement on property owned by New Emma Holdings LLC. That is item number 18 on the agenda. According to state statute, before the ordinance can be acted upon, a public hearing has to be held on that as well, and the city clerk has published notice of the public hearing as required by the statute. Does anyone wish to be heard on that proposed ordinance? If not, I'll close that public hearing and we'll take it up as item number 18.
All right, thank you. Item 8 is procedural motions. What's your pleasure, council?
Move for A and B.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for A and B. All right, we'll call for the vote on the procedural motions. And Amelia?
Do I vote on here? Is there a way for me to do that?
I don't think so. I think I'm just going to have to get your
Is
vote.
it verbal?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Carries 7-0 with that addition.
Right, thank you. If we had someone else up here with a vote button, but
The reason I asked is we have a new platform that we're doing our Zoom links
right.
from.
I'm going to ask Anna. Anna has agreed to come up and sit in your seat. And
Yeah.
with each vote, I'll just ask you for a verbal and then she'll enter
Right.
it. Okay?
Perfect.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
All right, item 9. A presentation from Boston Mountain Solid Waste District. And I've been looking forward to this. We've made some movement. So regarding our, we got your approval a while back to apply for a grant. And we'll hear more about that, okay?
Hi, everybody. My name is Taylor Osborne. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for Boston Mountain Solid Waste District. And I'm very excited to tell you all about the Springdale Recycling Project that we have been working on in partnership with the city and Cards Recycling and Trash and the Recycling Partnership. If you're not familiar, the Recycling Partnership is a national nonprofit that focuses on residential recycling programs throughout the nation and gathering residential recycling data. And they also give out a lot of grants. And that's one of the reasons why I'm able to be here today. We got a grant from the Recycling Partnership, and that was funded by the Walmart Foundation. And the grant is for a robust education and outreach program that we're doing here for recycling in Springdale. And so the goals of this recycling project are to, of course, increase the tonnage and the participation of people recycling in Springdale, and also to reduce contamination. We also want to refresh the recycling knowledge of folks in Springdale, just so there's a baseline of education so that this project can be successful long after it's completed. And we're also going to deploy strategic education to different participation groups in order to reach them where they are. And those participation groups are going to be the no set out households, the low set out households, and the frequent set out. And that's based on how often they put their recycling cart at the curb. And we're going to meet these goals with smart truck technology that Cards has put on a few of their recycling trucks. And this technology uses AI and GPS to look at a person's recycling cart, take a picture of any contamination, and send an oops tag, a mailer, directly to that household, letting them know just what was contamination in their recycling cart. And I'll get more into that in a little bit. And so we're also going to be sending out, of course, printed educational material to the households, and that's going to go along with a digital experience, which is a new webpage on the city's website that talks all about recycling. And then we're also going to offer in-home recycling bins to the no set-out group in hopes that people who aren't participating, we can get them to start participating. And we're going to measure this by, CARD is going to do an audit in their MRF before and after the project, just to see how much of each recyclable material was collected, and also what the contamination rate was before and after our education and outreach. And then the smart cameras on the trucks will also be able to determine the participation groups and who is participating and at what level, and what that level of contamination is as well. This is a brief snapshot of our project timeline. So we're about to begin collecting baseline data, and that is data with no educational interventions, just seeing where people are, what the contamination rate is and participation rate is before we do any targeted education. So that should start hopefully next week, and we'll do that for 4 weeks. And then we're also going to issue a press release as well. And the Springdale webpage for recycling will be live soon, and that will be complete with a chatbot also. The next phase is the intervention phase, and that's a 6-week phase where we will start deploying strategic education to residents. So we'll start with everybody will get some baseline education that just says what is recyclable and what is not recyclable in the community. And also where they can find out more information. So that'll be going to that recycling webpage. And this is also the period where people will get an OOPS tag. And so that is going to be coming from Prairie Robotics, which is the company that the camera technology came from to go on the trucks. And so they'll be working with the recycling partnership to get those mailers mailed out. So anybody who has yard waste or plastic bags or something that isn't recyclable in their cart, they will get an oops mailer that just says, oops, this was contamination, and lets them know exactly what that was. And then in July, we'll continue with that 6 weeks of strategic outreach to the residents, and also the smart cameras will continue to collect data on the trucks. And then in August, we will wrap it up. And we'll continue to collect some post-project data. So we'll be essentially doing 4 weeks of baseline data collection, no interventions, no education, seeing where people are, followed by 6 weeks of educational interventions and those OOPS tags, followed by another 4 weeks of no interventions and just seeing how well we did during those 6 weeks. And this is how the cameras will work on the truck. So this is really cool and hasn't been done in Northwest Arkansas. So we're really happy that Springdale's able to participate in this. There's a couple of cameras on the trucks. I believe one will look into the hopper, so it'll see what's going into the truck from the recycling cart. And another one will also, I believe, look onto the street. And GPS technology will help identify what cart is coming from which household. So the AI will photograph and document the contamination. And you can see this is the OOPS tag that will go to any house that has some contamination. So it says, OOPS, help keep our recycling program in Springdale strong. And it has a list of some things that are not accepted at the curb. And then to the left, it says, when we emptied your recycling into the truck, our team noticed these unacceptable items in your cart. And that will be in Spanish as well. And you can see in the photo, everything that isn't recycling contamination is blurred out. So the cameras only take a picture of the contamination. That piece of contamination is outlined in red, and it says at the top what it is. So if it's plastic bags, yard waste, a plastic tub, and that mailer goes directly to the household that put the contamination in there, unbeknownst to them. And underneath the photo, it says data is securely stored in the US and never sold, is only used for improving our recycling program, never shared or sold. So we really want to get ahead of that's not going to be an issue. This is just to improve recycling. It's never shared. There's no penalties, there's no fines, there's no charge in any way, shape, or form to the resident for good behavior or bad behavior. And those different set-out profiles, this is a definition of each of those. So the no set-out participants, those are households that put their recycling cart out at the curb 0 weeks out of 4. The low set-out participants put their recycling cart at the curb 1 week out of 4. And then the frequent set-out folks, their cart goes to the curb 2 weeks out of 4. So each profile will get targeted education specifically to them. And the goal here is we want to get the folks who aren't recycling to start recycling, and the folks who are recycling to just keep doing it and maybe even collect more. Here's a snapshot of the different kinds of education that I've been referring to. So in the beginning, the pre-intervention, at the very end of the baseline data collection, we'll actually start to send out our first mailer, and that'll be the info card that says, this is recyclable in Springdale, this is not recyclable at your curb in Springdale, and here's where you can find out more, and that'll take you to the webpage. And so everybody will get that across the board, all participation groups. And they will all also get the digital experience. So that'll be the webpage, of course, and that'll be up soon. And then the press release will be going out. So after that, in the intervention phase, when we're in our 6-week period, that's when we'll start to break up the education based on participation. So the no set-out folks and everybody will start to get the response mailer, and that's the OOPS tag. So once again, if you have contamination in your cart, it happens. That OOPS mailer will go to your household and let you know this is what it was in hopes that maybe it won't happen again. So everybody will get that. Everybody will, of course, have access to the website. And then later on is when we kind of start to break it up a little bit, depending on your participation. So the no set-out folks, we want to get them to start recycling. And the way that we're going to do that is by offering them in-home recycling bins. These are 6-gallon bins that you can keep in your laundry room or in your kitchen, and they just make it easy to collect recycling in your house and then empty that smaller bin into your larger cards cart outside. So the no set-out folks will get that option. We'll send them a business reply mailer, which I'll show you later, that they can opt in to get the bin. And inside that bin will be an info pamphlet with a bunch of recycling tips, a little more in-depth, a magnet, which the magnet is the info card that we previously sent out, but it's in magnet form. You can put it on your refrigerator. And they'll also get some stickers, some really nice stickers that the Recycling Partnership has developed that folks can put on their phone or their water bottle. And that's a little community-based social marketing. So the hope there is that they'll see the sticker on their phone or their notebook, and they'll say, oh yeah, I'm a recycler now. I've committed to this enough to put the sticker on my phone. And so that's where the behavior change starts. That's our hope there. And then the low set-out group, they will get specifically the magnet that they can put on their fridge. And then the frequent set-out group, they will get the magnet as well and more recycling tips. And these tips are simply how to collect more recycling in the home. So the idea with these 3 different groups is the no set-out group, we want them to start recycling. So we want to give them an in-home bin, if they'd like one, to help collect recycling in the home. The low set-out folks, we want them to keep recycling and maybe collect more by having that refrigerator magnet in their face all the time. And then the frequent set-out folks, they're already collecting a lot, but maybe they're missing something in their house. So that recycling tip mailer includes about collecting recycling in the laundry room, in the bathroom, some of those less common areas. So we're really trying to reach people where they are. This is a snapshot of the new webpage on Springdale's website. So this is the very top. It says, "Hello, recycler, so glad you're here." And we have people's contact information, Boston Mountain Solid Waste District, and cards. And you can see there's 3 buttons in the middle of the slide there. And that says download guides in English, download guides in Spanish, and download guides in Marshallese. So you can find all of the printed material there in any language you choose. And this is Birdie. I'd like to introduce you to the recycling mascot, Birdie. Birdie is the chatbot that is going to be on the city's website. And you can ask Birdie recycling-related questions. And if you go a little further down on the webpage, this is the info card that tells you what's accepted at the curb and what is not accepted. And then beneath that are frequently asked questions. And so these are questions that the Recycling Partnership has used in other communities. Questions like, when is my recycling day? How clean is clean enough? Is all plastic recyclable? And these are questions that they had and that Anna and I worked together on to make sure we had appropriate answers for Springdale. And up to the left too, that's where you can chat with Birdie and ask recycling questions, and she also speaks Spanish. This is the bottom of the webpage. This is Springdale's recycling drop-off information. This has always been on Springdale's website. But you will see at the bottom, we have all of our partners' logos, which we think look really great together. And we were really happy to be able to use Springdale's motto of "We're making it happen" to include "We're making it happen in partnership with," and then all of our great partners. This is the business reply mailer. So this is the mailer that will go out to the no set out group to get them to start recycling. At the top left, that business reply mailer, you can reach out to us and opt in for your indoor bin by either returning the business reply mailer, emailing us, or calling us. And all of that contact information is for Boston Mountain. So we'll get that information and we'll take stock of who wants a bin and get those addresses, and we'll work with cards to get those bins distributed to the households. And if you do opt in for a bin, this is what you'll get in your bin, the instruction trifold, which talks about how to use the bin, where to set it up, how to chat with Birdie, how to collect more recycling in your house. That's the info magnet in its full glory with Birdie to the right and a QR code and a website to the new webpage. And then those are the stickers, wasted potential, waste less, love more. Hopefully those will be really popular. We thought they were awesome, so. And then, of course, that's the 6-gallon bin. So it's just a really small bin that can go anywhere in your house. And something that was really important to us from the beginning of this project was having the printed materials not only in English and Spanish, but in Marshallese as well. And we couldn't have made that possible without the help of some dedicated students from Harbor High School as part of the East team. Ezekiel Mack, Atri Batlock, Lupe Salas Aguilar, and Vivian Mia. They worked with us in a very short time frame to stay on schedule for this project, and they translated multiple pieces of education for us, and so we're very grateful to them for their help on this. And they helped us take this project to the next level, which was all inclusivity. And so that's what we want, of course, and also in order just to get more people recycling. So that is the project we've been working on. I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any.
Questions for Taylor?
I have a question. Are you working, I saw with the Springdale schools, are you working with the district as a whole to kind of put this out to the students? Or I know as a former teacher, we did a lot of recycling plans and units and things throughout the grades, across the grades. And I just wondered if you guys had reached out to the public schools.
So beyond the participation with the students doing the translations, we haven't reached out to the public schools specifically for this project. Boston Mountain has, we have recycling programs with most, if not all, of the Springdale schools in general. So we haven't reached out to the schools specifically for this project. That's a great suggestion. This is a citywide project, so anybody who has access to CARS recycling and trash service in Springdale will be a part of this project. But we are looking for more people to present to and more people to get in front of, so that's a good
Well,
suggestion.
I know that there's nothing like my own children's shame to get me to do things. So when they come in and they present to me something like this, rather than receiving it in the mail, I would be more apt to go to the website and actually participate.
100%, yes, the kids can be very persuasive, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming that this, with the cameras and everything, is based off of success stories somewhere else, where they've done this type of project or program, and then they've been able to get more recycling. Do you have examples of that? Like what type of behavior was influenced, how much more recycling they were able to do based off what you've done here?
This has been based off other projects that the Recycling Partnership has done. I have immense respect for that organization, so I'm a little biased. I feel like everything they touch turns to gold. I don't specifically have any specific examples of where else it's been deployed. I don't know if Robin does or. Robin's gonna check. I have my support team back here with me today, but this is something that they have done in other communities.
So we don't have any idea of what we can expect as far as an increase in the number of recycled goods or any of that kind of thing? Or the behavior of more people setting their recycle out to the curb or any of that?
Well, I will say that the direct-to-household information on contamination, I think, is what's missing in a lot of programs. I don't think we do a pretty good job, we being recycling folks, about, widespread information, but the targeted, specific education, like what actually was contamination in your cart, that's missing a lot from programs. I know that's not a specific answer to your question. I can get that for you. I can get some more specific information from the partnership, but I can tell you we're very excited to see the results.
I can tell you, I'm just hoping to make it through without an oops, because I'm not sure I do it right every week, and so I think it'll be great education, and I like that I'm thankful we're not doing anything punitive at this point. There are other cities in our area who have been more punitive with contamination, and I really like this approach, and I hope it really reaps great benefit. So
Thank you so much.
So just real quick, kind of piggyback on what Amelia was saying. Some of us there's a lot of the larger manufacturers or larger businesses around. I'd like to talk with y'all later on ways that we can communicate at our employer, because I got 750 people there, and that's probably one of the smaller ones around compared to some of the others, and just be able to, banners or signs or giving me a stack of stickers, something I can help promote that too at work.
Yes, sir, I completely agree. I feel like business recycling is definitely something that we could all work on a little bit better, so we'd love to help you with that.
One more question. So I can see people maybe bringing up, do they have to opt in or opt out from having photos of their trash and having that geo coordinated as well? Do we have anything related to that? Do they have the option to say, we do not want this, we do not want what I put in my recycle bin or in my trash with a photo taken of it associated with my address?
That hasn't been brought up. I don't believe that is an option. I do know that the concern about having their recycling photographed has been brought up in other communities. And so that is something that, with this presentation and hopefully other presentations to the community, we can simply get ahead of and just calm that fear before it starts, because to my understanding, it's not something that you can opt out or opt into.
no, I don't believe it is, and it's that's why it's very important that we put the disclaimer on there about where the who will have access to this, and the blurring of everything except that particular, that's the AI technology that's so cool with this, is the blurring of everything except what is the offender, you know?
It's completely
Good
vanilla.
question, and we've talked about it too, but I don't think we ever got to the point that we needed an opt-out. I think they'll just, we'll deal with it if people have issues with it.
And all the messaging that we're using is very empathetic as well. It's non-judgmental. It's very we understand that there's a problem. And so I think what we'll see and what they've seen in other communities is that people really do appreciate the knowing. You don't know if you don't know. So people do appreciate, this is what the problem was. Just, in hopes that won't happen again, maybe.
And as I said earlier, I think the bottom line is we need people to know how to do this right.
Yes, sir.
And because contamination affects not only our recyclables, but down the road, it affects our price and Card's price and how that contract works. So there's a lot hanging on this, that we do this right. When we do single stream recycling, that's the contamination. Some level of contamination comes with that, and it's important that we teach everyone to do that the best they can. And as I said, some other cities have been rather punitive in this, and we've not chosen that route. So we're trying to use this technology that is not invasive, but it hopefully will be very effective in helping us educate ourselves as well about how to properly recycle.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor.
Mayor, I think what Mark and I were both saying, though, is that we could help this happen quicker if that connection is made between business corporations giving their employees that live in Springdale these things that they may not receive in mail, and the same thing with the school district. That way, we're not just dependent on a mailer. That's all.
Right. I don't disagree with that at all.
All right, thank you.
All right. Now, item 10, our chamber quarterly report. Jay Seago is here. Jay?
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council leaders, and guests. Here's economic development highlights from the first quarter of 2025. One of the larger announcements was electronic manufacturer Keytronics relocating to Springdale, south of Apple Blossom in the Crossland I-49 Industrial Park. Renovations are underway on their 290,000 square foot facility and future center of excellence for Keytronic research and development. Late this summer, they'll begin moving over 270 employees to this facility, with the potential of creating up to 700 total jobs once at full capacity. This project took well over a year, with several partners from local to region to state entities, all supporting in unison. And it's well worth noting that without Springdale's infrastructure investments to build Chief Truman Brewer Street, as well as your approval to expand Apple Blossom Avenue, it's uncertain if Crossland would have done the I-49 Industrial Park. Therefore, this project might not have occurred, so thank you. In the first quarter, Springdale has increased nearly 900 new jobs with a 2.7% unemployment rate. Our February 25 sales tax receipts totaled $1.9 million, which is an increase of 9.1%. Next month, the Chamber is hosting a career and resource fair specifically for Cargill employees at the Springdale Civic Center, with over 75 businesses and organizations supporting that event. It's going to be on June 20th. As high school graduation approaches this weekend, the Chamber partnered with the school district on the third annual Workforce Signing Day on May 1st. At this event, over 180 graduating students signed letters to join our local workforce and the military. Additionally, the Chamber created a workforce success grant this year that offset essential work supplies for some of these graduates. On page 2, Springdale's downtown district continues to thrive. Onyx Coffee has opened with plans for ribbon cutting coming soon. The Sundry Hilton Hotel has a groundbreaking on May 20th. Market Center of the Ozarks grand opening will be on May 29th. Additionally, in downtown, construction continues on the following: the Star on Spring Boutique Hotel, Big Emma and Via Emma mixed-use developments, and Springdale Senior Center, all continue projects targeting completion in summer or fall. This past quarter, Springdale Airport announced partnership between John Brown University and Aero, which is formerly Fly ARH, to begin professional flight program this fall, with ground instruction being done here at our local airport. At Kendrick Industrial Park, Premium Brands will open in July. That's going to be adding in 100 new jobs. And Central States Manufacturing opens in August, adding up to 140 new jobs once at full capacity. And then on the west side of town, Teslar Software's headquarters and Arkansas Children's Hospital continues construction on Gene George. Pending your questions, concludes my brief, sir.
A lot of good news. Any questions for Jay? All right, thank you, Jay. All right, item 11, appointments and reappointments. I'll go ahead and read 11A, a resolution making appointments to the Shiloh Museum Board of Trustees for the city of Springdale, Arkansas.
Move resolution pass.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve. Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
Thank you, Amelia.
Carries 6-1.
All right, thank you. And Angie, thank you for bringing these names forward, and please thank them for us for their willingness to serve. All right, thank you. Item 12, Planning Commission report and recommendations. Sharon Tromberg, Director of Planning and Community Development. Sharon?
Good evening, council members, Mayor Sprouse. Hold on, let me make sure it's on. There we go. All right, our first item is a replat at Gary and Parker Street on the west side of 71. And this is essentially a lot split within an existing subdivision. There are existing homes on each of the proposed lots. They were granted a setback reduction at Planning Commission last week, and they were granted a sidewalk waiver by council back in December of 2024. This was voted unanimously for approval. And the title reads, an ordinance accepting a replat, RP 25-01 of CF Noel addition to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency.
Sharon, can you talk about the side setbacks and the approval of that was done just last week? When did the project get built out?
I'd have to ask the building department. I'm not sure when they were actually, I'm not sure if Mr. Shambly knows when they were actually granted building permits for the houses, but it was recent. So as of last year, this was an empty lot. The owners came and they wanted to build 2 homes on one lot, which technically they could do multiple principal structures because they had enough frontage and square footage to do it. There was a miscommunication. I'm not sure what happened. We discussed it a little bit at Planning Commission, but building code allows them to build the 2 structures within 10 feet apart. So that is what they did. And then afterwards, after they got their certificate of occupancy and a sidewalk waiver, they decided they wanted to split the lot to sell it. And therefore, their side setbacks would be 5 instead of 8. So they had to come to Planning Commission, seek a variance for that. We discussed it. We're going to try to do better with all of our communication going forward, and they were granted the variance unanimously.
Move ordinance pass.
Second.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Anyone in the room need to speak to this? All right, call for the vote. Amelia?
Yes.
Thank you.
Carries 6-1.
Move merge clause be adopted.
Second.
Okay, call for the vote on the emergency clause.
Yes.
Thank you.
Carries 6-1.
All right, our second item is another replat. This one is at Success in Cleveland at Southeast Downtown. And this essentially proposes a consolidation of two lots rather than a split within an existing subdivision. Voted unanimously for approval. The owners right now don't have any intent to sell or build. They just clearly wanted to establish some of their boundary, clean up the property lines essentially. The title for this reads an ordinance accepting a replat, RP 25-03, of Mountain View Second Subdivision to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency.
I'll make a motion the ordinance pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Other comments or questions? Anyone else in the room? All right, this will be a call for the vote.
Yes.
Carries 7-0. Has emergency
Move
clause.
emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the emergency clause. Call for the vote.
Yes.
Thank you.
Carries 6-1.
All right, thank you.
All right, and our third item is a final plat at the southeast corner of Don Tyson Parkway and George Anderson. This is for Jacobs Crossing. There's about 63 single-family lots in an SF3 zoning. The title, they voted unanimously for approval, Planning Commission did, with an 8-0 result for this, and no objections were raised. And the entire tract is nearing about 18 acres here. The title for this reads, an ordinance accepting the final plat, FP 25-02, of Jacobs Crossing, Phase 2 and 3 to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency. And in case there are questions, I think the representative is here, just in case.
This is right next to where we just denied a SF3, and you said there were nobody came with any objections on that?
I think it is the property, isn't it?
It's the one right across. This one already had the SF3 zoning. So it was the one on the southwest side that was actually denied the SF3 zoning. So it was on the other corner. This one already had that zoning.
Oh, I
So they
got you.
were allowed
Okay.
to proceed with their
Right.
final plat as
Okay.
was.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
So Sharon, I'm not sure I understood what you're saying. It already had the SF3 zoning, so what are we doing now?
They are final platting it. There is an associated development right across the street on the southwest side that was denied in SF3 zoning. It has a similar name, so
We're
it's
not
kind of
changing the
confusing.
zoning or anything. There's no
Nope.
change.
No.
Okay,
Yep,
all we're
yep.
doing is approving the final plat.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Entertain a motion? Oh, we did get it. Okay. Thought we did. All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll call for the vote. Amelia?
Yes.
Carries 7-0.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the emergency clause. Call for the vote.
Yes.
Thank you.
Carries 7-0.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you, Sharon. Item 13, Ordinance Committee, Chairman Mike Lawson. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. We had one item last week before us, and it was basically just an ordinance to clean up some language. I'll read it, and I'll let Ernest expand on it just a little bit. An ordinance amending Section 110-137 of the Code and Ordinance of the City of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson. This ordinance, basically, as he said, is a cleanup. It helps clarify a situation in the commercial industrial subdivisions when an address number would be assigned. It gives them a little bit more time because the way it's written now, they have to assign the addresses sometimes before the building's even built, which doesn't make any sense. So this cleans it up. Chief's shaking his head, so that's good.
Make a motion that ordinance pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Other questions or comments? Anyone in the room? All right, call for the vote.
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
All right, call for the vote on the emergency clause.
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
We'll go ahead and open up the Finance Committee portion, I guess.
Yeah.
Item number 14. All four items from the Finance Committee were forwarded to council with recommendation for approval. The first one has to do with the granting of a right-of-way across property owned by the Springdale Water and Sewer Commission. I'll let Ernest address that, but I'll read the title. A resolution authorizing the grant of right-of-way to the Arkansas State Highway Commission over and across property owned by the Springdale Water and Sewer Commission in Benton County, Arkansas, and concurring with the amount of compensation related thereto.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. As we mentioned at committee, whenever the Springdale Water and Sewer Commission was created, the city council reserved the power to sell or transfer real property. So that's why the city council's approval of this offer of compensation is required. And I believe Mr. Pulverenti is here if you have any questions. He did a very good job explaining it at committee, I thought.
Move the resolution be adopted.
And just for clarification, in the statements there, it's saying that it's being paid for by RDOT, correct?
That's who's acquiring it, yes,
Okay.
yes. That's who's writing the check.
I was
Second.
asked about that, just making sure.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Other questions or comments? Anyone? All right, call for the vote.
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
Item 14B has to do with the expenditure of funds to acquire property along West County Line Road. The title of this resolution is a resolution authorizing the expenditure of funds to acquire property from Niles Graham and Brenna Graham for the Gene George Boulevard Extension Project, Elm Springs Road to County Line Road, project number 23BPS4. I'll ask Ernest to address this as well.
Thank you. Yes, this authorizes initial $10,000 in compensation from the city's initial offer of $43,600 to the property owner's counteroffer of $53,600. This is at the, almost at the southeast corner of County Line and Gene George North, one parcel removed. They're losing quite a bit of their front yard and trees, landscaping is the reason for the increase.
Move the resolution be adopted.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for the resolution. Other comments or questions? Anyone? Call for the vote.
Yes.
Carry 7-0.
Item number 14C has to do with the execution of construction contract on Watkins Avenue improvements. The title to that resolution is a resolution authorizing the execution of a construction contract for Watkins Avenue improvements, project number 18BPS15, and Ben will address this.
Yep, we bid this project, and we had three responsive bidders, with Emery Sapp & Son being the lowest bidder at $4.7 million. And we revised this from our committee meeting to say we're going to spend the remainder of the 18 bond funds, and then we'll balance that with the rest of 23. I did a little bit of investigation. We've got about $2.6 $6 million left in the 2018 bond. So that'll go off against this 4.7, and the remainder will be out of 23.
Move the resolution be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Other questions or comments? Anyone? Okay, call for the vote.
Yes.
Did this come in under bid, by the way?
Yes, the engineer's estimate was 5.1, so, yep.
Thank you.
Carries 7-0.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 14D has to do with the payment of an invoice for the construction of the Springdale Senior Center. The payment would be paid from funds from the 2023 bond program. The title to that resolution is a resolution authorizing payment of an invoice 2023 bond project number 23BSC1.
Move the resolution be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the resolution. Anyone else got questions or comments? Call for the vote.
Yes.
Carries 7-0.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, for picking that up. I kind of left you hanging there for a second. I was having a brain fog or something. But we'll move on now to item 15, Technology Committee, and Chairwoman Amelia Taldo. Amelia?
There's one item on the agenda, and it is a resolution authorizing the execution of professional services agreement for an applicant tracking system vendor. This was presented by Colby Fulfer, Chief of Staff.
Hey, Amelia, this is Anna. Colby's out this evening, so I'm going to take this one. I know Colby stated last week HR is wanting to move forward with a cloud-based applicant tracking system. Over the past few years, we've tried to move away from manual operations and more into the digitalized way of operating. So HR has been doing a lot of research, and they've found the software that they want to move forward with. So if you guys have any questions on budget or anything like that, I know Gina and Catherine, they're also here to answer any questions you have.
Move resolution pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any other questions or comments? Anyone? All right, call for the vote.
Yes.
Carries 7-0.
All right, thank you, Amelia. And we move on to item 16, Police and Fire Committee, and Chairman Brian Powell. Brian?
Thank you, Mayor. Committee, we had two resolutions come before us. One of them is for a new ambulance, and another one is for a remount, an existing vehicle. And so I will read the first resolution, and Chief Holt is here if you have any questions. First one's a resolution to waive competitive bidding and to appropriate funds for a new ambulance for the Springdale Fire Department.
Move resolution pass. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions for the chief before we vote? Anyone in the room? All right, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
Carries 7-0.
And 16B, again, is for a remount on an existing vehicle. And I'll read the title of this resolution is a resolution to waive competitive bidding and to appropriate funds for equipment.
Move resolution pass. Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any questions or comments? All right, call for the vote.
Yes.
Carries 7-0.
Yeah, so persuasive. Item 17, I'm going to turn, actually these next couple over to our city attorney. Ernest?
Thank you, Mayor. Item 17 is an ordinance accepting for annexation certain property into the city of Springdale, Washington County, Arkansas, pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 14-40-609. This property, I believe a representative of the property owner may be here as well. If you look on red page 68, you will find the map of this parcel. It is just south of the roundabout at Don Tyson and Haberton Road. It's outlined in yellow. They've completed all the necessary requirements with the county for this to be brought forward to the city for consideration.
Move ordinance pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Questions or comments? Anyone in the room? Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
Carries 7-0. It does not have an emergency clause because the statute states it goes, it's final in 30 days, so that's why it does not have an emergency clause. So item number 18 is one we had a public hearing on at the beginning of the meeting. It's an ordinance vacating and abandoning a utility easement pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 14-301-301 et sec, declaring emergency for other purposes. This is actually a parcel that has frontage on the new Emma Avenue between Gutenson and 40th Street. And they have a pending, I believe, a pending development for this. I think they just rezoned it last month, I believe, New Emma Holdings.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Other questions or comments? Anyone? Call for the vote.
Yes.
Carries 7-0.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Call for the vote on the emergency clause.
Yes.
Carries 7-0. Item number 19 is I'll read the resolution. It's a resolution setting a hearing date on a petition to abandon a portion of a utility easement in the city of Springdale, Washington County, Arkansas. This would set the public hearing for June 10th, 2025, and the city clerk will publish notice in the newspaper as required by the statute. This is in connection with a project at Cross Church.
Move the resolution be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Other questions or comments? All right, call for the vote.
Yes.
Carries 7-0.
All right, thank you, Ernest. I need to ask, before we ask for comments from council members, our staff, I think, Ben, you had an update you were going to bring to council.
Yes, we've got something to bring to you. We're doing the 40th Street Bridge over Brush Creek as part of the West Emma Avenue project. As part of that, we're replacing the deck on that bridge. Once we started to remove some of the pieces of that bridge, we realized there's some structural damage to the foundation of that bridge. And unfortunately, we're going to have to close it for 12 weeks, starting May 23rd. So 40th Street's going to be closed from Emma Avenue to Delmon Lane for that 12-week period, which happens to coincide with summer, which is why we're doing it at that time. There was some cracks in the foundation that you couldn't see until you started to dismantle the bridge. They're such that it could be a catastrophic failure, so for the public safety, we need to do this, and it's unfortunate, but this is something we're going to have to do. So that was just to kind of let you know that that's going to happen. May 23rd is when it starts, and it should be open by August 12th.
So it will happen after the new overpass is open.
The new overpass will open in June 25th.
So it'll be before. Okay.
Where's the alternate route going to go?
So until the overpass is done, you'll go down East M Avenue or West M Avenue, to Gutenson Road. And that's how you'll get back to Elm Springs Road. Or, well, actually Huntsville Avenue in that location.
But 40th Street's going to be closed, so they just have to avoid 40th Street altogether?
It'll only be closed for that section. So if Dixie Industrial will be open, Delmon Lane will be open.
You can get to
You
McRae.
just won't be able to go north and south, north of Emma Avenue. No, Emma Avenue will be open. It's just north of Emma Avenue is where the closure starts. And then it opens again before you get to Delmon Lane. So it's just literally the bridge.
It was either close it completely or close it one lane at a time for a much longer time. So if we can get it done in the summer, we're better off to, hopefully we can get it, if it goes well, we're hopeful we can get it open.
Yeah, we're hopeful
Times
it'll
schools.
happen sooner than that.
Yeah.
Ideally before school reopens, but the 12th is the projection right now. And then in conjunction with that, this is a, for your information kind of thing, we are doing the West Emma Avenue project, and the bridge is going to open June 25th, like we just discussed. There will be a gap in the trail because the trail doesn't extend west of 48th Street. We're trying to get the trail to get connected to Jean George Boulevard and beyond, actually. So we're contemplating change ordering in a restriping of Harbor Avenue from 48th Street west, almost to Ireland Street, which is the entrance to Harbor Meadows. And that would put bike lanes on Harbor Avenue, converting the 4-lane section of Harbor Avenue to a 3-lane section. All of that fits because we had underruns on undercut and other items on the job. So there's no change order required that would exceed the existing contract amount. So really telling you about it tonight to get feedback and see if that's something you want us to pursue or if it's something you don't want us to do.
Yeah, and that's, I really can't answer why that one section of Harbor, it happened a long time ago, why that one section of Harbor was built 4 lanes.
That was the major collector standard at the time that was built. So we had 3-lane roads, which were minor collectors, 4-lane roads were major collectors, and 5-lane roads were arterials. 4-lane roads do not carry much more traffic than 3-lane roads. As a matter of fact, if you're under 20,000 average vehicles per day, there's virtually no difference. 4-lane roads typically are less safe because you get a lot more rear-end accidents into left turn people who are in the fast lane waiting to turn left. So we think it'll actually be a safer thing. The bridge is only a 2-lane road as you go east, and then Harbor becomes a 3-lane road as you go west. So, this is a brief period where it's 4 lanes, and we really think it's in our best interest to take that to 3 lanes and add bicycle facilities. The bicycle facilities will be the Pride of Springdale Trail. So that's the extension of that trail, which would go from downtown to the entrance to Harbor Meadows currently.
Can you talk for a minute about you or James, or both of you, talk about the overlay program?
So we opened bids for the overlay program. We had $2 million budgeted. We picked enough lanes that we thought we had about $2 million. The bid came in very well at about $1.5 million. And so we're going to look at adding a few more miles of overlay to get closer to that $2 million mark. And Apex Central was the apparent low bidder. We'll be bringing that to you next time.
So good news there. We're going to get more done than we thought we would.
So that area of Harbor Avenue that you're talking about there, it's, the asphalt's looking pretty rough in that area. Could that be possible use for that, or was that on this overlay program?
That's not part of this overlay program. We are also, next time you'll get a contract for IMS, I'm sorry, which is the company we've chosen to do our street inventory, which will prepare us for the overlay program for the next 5 years. I have no doubt Harbor will be on that list, but it's not on our current one, no.
So when we restripe that, we'll have that'd be 10-foot or a 12-foot bike area.
We'll be doing what's left, so there's 9 feet. So it'll be 3 feet of buffer and then 6 feet of bike lane.
Okay. So would that be a project eventually of maybe restructuring that portion of that road into a trail?
I think if we're doing a trail, we might prefer to follow Brush Creek and do more of a green space trail and leave that as an on-street bike facility. That was on the original trail plan. It got removed some time ago, and I think it probably is, you might see it come back. The bridge at the golf course, at Brush Creek Golf Course, actually has a tunnel under it with ramps coming out of it. And the reason it was built that way was the intention was someday the trail would come up Brush Creek, and that's how you get back to the surface.
Hey, Ben, when you come back for funding for the overlay projects, can you get us a list of the projects as well?
Yeah, you bet. They'll be included in your packet.
All right. Derek, did you want to say anything about Thursday, just in case they're not aware, or if, I think they probably all got emails on it, but.
Absolutely. You should have got an email on this, but in case you haven't received that yet, Thursday we are hosting the Regional Northwest Arkansas Law Enforcement Memorial Service. It'll be out here out front of City Hall by our memorial, will be at 11 a.m. The service usually lasts about 30 minutes.
It moves around, and it's actually, we're getting it earlier than we normally would have, right?
Yes, sir. So Washington County was scheduled to host it this year. We host every third year. The departments rotate. With their construction going on, they asked that we step in and host it this year, so.
Thanks. Okay, any comments from council?
I do. So I know everyone has seen this trailer parked south of Neighborhood Market on the interstate. It's been there for years. It's had graffiti on it.
It's a Nugsy or?
Yeah, it used to say. They've changed it. The graffiti's changed.
Okay.
I don't know the story. I can't believe I've never asked the story on that trailer.
Mike, are you aware, or Ron? I know that we dealt with that, and we thought it got moved.
And here's why I bring it up. Unless it's been moved in the last few days, the thing that concerns me is now the back doors are open.
Okay.
Which to me seems kind of inviting. So I don't know, is there a story to that trailer?
No, we thought, Ron, did you deal with them on that?
You know, I think the trailer has been there since the gentleman bought the property. So it's been there for a while. I think at one point in time, it was back at the back of the lot. Somehow it's got moved up there. I think what they do is they use that for a sign when they do the fireworks stand, because there's a fireworks stand there. So I think they use that trailer as a sign. Now, Public Works did go out there and took the graffiti off that was on there, but I did notice it has been graffitied again. So it might be something that James and them goes back out there.
What about the doors being open? That doesn't seem very safe to me.
I think the doors have been open the entire time, I believe.
Is that within our code? Is it operable?
The gentleman that owns that land, I guess he's tried to move that. Because like I said, when he purchased it, the trailer was there. He's tried to get somebody to move it, but he hasn't found anybody to move that trailer.
That doesn't answer my question. Is there any violation with it sitting there?
I'm not sure what their property is zoned, and I don't know if it's actually on concrete or not. There's a parking lot there, so it may not be.
Ron, how about we get a report?
Okay.
Telling us whether or not there's any violation of it, the way it's sitting there.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anybody else? Ernest, do you have anything?
No, sir.
I don't believe I do either. I don't think I do. Well, if I did, sorry. We have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn, and we stand adjourned. Thank you.